Hello, fifth grade. It's been a while since I've seen you. I do miss teaching you all, so I'm sort of glad to be up here just to be able to talk to you all again. Today we're going to be discussing the Declaration of Independence since it's so close to the 4th of July, and I really want y'all to understand why we celebrate the 4th. And we touched on it before y'all left, when I asked y'all, why do y'all celebrate the 4th of July? And a lot of you all told me that y'all celebrate the 4th, you just shoot fireworks and have barbecues. But that's not the only reason why we celebrate the 4th. Not just to spend time with family. We celebrate the 4th because this is what we consider our nation's birthday. This is when we adopted the Declaration of Independence. The Declaration of Independence, it was inspired by Thomas Paine's Common Sense. Because many colonists yearned for freedom because of freedom from Great Britain, because they relied heavily on the colonists for taxes, for money. And they were constantly taxing the colonists simply because they were broke. They were broke because they was always involved in wars. Remember we talked about how Great Britain was all about land grabbing? And remember we talked about how they already had the 13 colonies, but that wasn't enough. And they got in this big long war with the French, which lasted about 7 years. We call it the French and Indian War, or the 7-Year War. So the colonists were tired. So they decided, okay, we're tired of this. So we're gonna separate from Britain. We're gonna declare our independence from Great Britain. So in 1776, Congress named a committee to write a statement of independence from Great Britain. It was drafted by Thomas Jefferson. They did this knowing that they were at risk. They knew that they was going to have to eventually fighting because of this, because no other colony had ever did this. So let's talk about the principles of the Declaration of Independence. The purpose of the Declaration of Independence was to explain why the colonists had to separate from Great Britain. Jefferson included John Locke's concepts of the right to own property and to be governed by the consent of the people. And this led to the birth of a nation. The Declaration of Independence was the first document of its kind. No other colonies had declared their independence from a nation before. Today we celebrate the birth of our nation on July the 4th. Comprehension check. And you remember when I told you students that ELA and social studies, they're kind of like sisters? Because in social studies, we have to be able to comprehend. So now we're going to do a little bit of comprehension. And I'm going to read just an excerpt of the Declaration of Independence because I do miss reading to you all. So I'm going to read it. We hold these truths to be self-evident, that all men are created equal and they are endowed by their Creator with certain unalienable rights, that among these are life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. That to secure these rights, governments are instituted among men, deriving their just powers from the consent of the governed, that whenever any form of government becomes destructive of these ends, it is the right of the people to alter or to abolish it. And abolish means to do away with. And to institute a new government, laying its foundations on such principles and organizing its powers in such form as to them shall seem most likely to affect their safety and happiness. And now we're going to answer some questions. Remember, I know this looked familiar to you because we did it in class. We do these in class all the time. So now I want you to pause it, and I want you to get you a sheet of paper and a pencil, and I want you to try to answer these questions. And remember what I told you right before we got to this slide. So the first question, why was the Declaration of Independence written? Question number 2, on which date was the Declaration of Independence approved? What is number 3? What is the first truth mentioned in the Declaration of Independence? And number 4, which inalienable rights does the Declaration of Independence acknowledge? Number 5, what does the Declaration of Independence say people have the right to do when a government becomes destructive? And number 6, why is the Declaration one of the most important documents in the history of our nation? You may pause and you may answer the questions. Answer check. Question number 1. Why was the Declaration of Independence written? It was written to explain why the colonists were breaking away from Great Britain. Number 2, on which date was the Declaration of Independence approved? July 4th, 1776. Number 3, what is the first truth mentioned in the Declaration of Independence? That all men are created equal. Which unalienable rights does the Declaration of Independence acknowledge? It acknowledges life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. Question number 5. What does the Declaration of Independence say that people have the right to do when a government becomes destructive? Alter or abolish the government and institute new government. And number 6, why is the Declaration of Independence one of the most important documents in the history of our nation? It was the first to set out the rights and responsibilities of people in a democracy. And I hope y'all did well. I know y'all did well because I know y'all went back in the document and looked at the answers and everything. So I feel pretty confident that y'all did well on it.